Good evening, everybody, from home and abroad. Welcome to the show. I have myself with me, Warspirit, today. It's been a slow week. Hopefully, not a calm before the storm, shall I say. Let me go ahead and get my mic closer to myself. So, as I was saying, it's been a slower week in the big news hot spotlight. While, trust me, there's nothing less going on. It's it's just there hasn't been anything of huge report in the things that we usually talk about here in the realm of politics and everything else. Biden's escaped his cellar and has made a fool of himself again, but that's hardly news. We will talk about it as it is funny. Some big updates, and this is the most important one, concerning the hemp farms to the west in the reservation. Big deal. Plenty of bad things going on. But I'd like to get into that into immense detail this evening. But other than that, it's just kind of a chill show. We attempted to contact the ISS via radio earlier today as it was flying over, but sadly that didn't work out. Hey, Warspirit?
No, unfortunately it didn't, and I guess it's just proof that it's all a hoax and we live in the Matrix.
Right? It's all fake. It's all a hologram.
Just so you know, I've tried to share the show on our Facebook page twice, and it keeps showing up with the old...
I understand. So to kind of explain that, I started streaming before I changed the title of it. However, I did change the title, but for some reason it's not switching over to the new style yet. Mind you, you're at the right show. This is for the 18th of September, the 20th. Or 2020.
Gotcha.
Sorry, so 18.
Well, I'll just leave it there as shared then, even though it's showing up the same stuff.
Yeah, and I changed it up because I tried posting that as well, and it just was not... It's not doing what I want it to right now, but I reckon here in a few minutes it ought to fix itself. Anyways, I'll start with prayer. Thank you, Lord, for protecting me and my family, especially my family, Lord. I lift them up in prayer, Lord, as we've lost a grandmother today. I pray that peace and comfort be upon my family and my parents. Lord, I pray for clarity and everyone who's traveling in these times to be safe and watchful of where they're going and what's going on, Lord. Thank you for continuing to protect us and keep us in your most wonderful grace. And continue doing so. Thank you for the listeners we have, Lord. And let's pray for blessing over the show. Thank you. Amen.
Amen.
So, where to start? I'll go ahead and start with the hemp houses, right? So, those I got an anonymous tip today, and I mean anonymous. There was a native fella, and he was talking about how they had found 6 to 12 deceased bodies of human individuals near the Hogback hemp farm in Hogback, New Mexico, and that no one's really talking about it. There was a shootout recently involving ammunition from a 5.56, a 9mm, and I believe it was a 40mm, but I'll have to look into that. There was also an update concerning...
And just so you know, that's all hearsay. That's not been confirmed yet,
it's all
except for by one person.
This is just an anonymous tip. But what has been confirmed from many sources is that the Asians that are running these hemp farms have actually been very rude and hostile to the populace.
Yes, and abusive. There has been actual recorded of like those kids that got too close to one of the hemp farms because little kid got beat up and. The authorities were called on that, but still nothing was done about it. And then also today, all production was actually halted. because there's one of the Navajo judges is actually looking into possible corruption of B'nai Benali.
Right. So, going along with that, it's just kind of been an interesting set of updates, and it's kind of like there's more under the hood, and we've had that feeling since we first went out there. And it has been, for the most part, kind of confirmed from the local populace once it came into the spotlight again, that, yeah, if it's not some trafficking stuff, it's definitely money disappearing that doesn't need to be disappearing. But we're looking at something that I think might even be, and don't get me wrong, not to defend Benali, the crooked scumbag, but rather that I think that he's lost control on his employment, and that these people are in an unfamiliar land, in working for someone that they've probably never seen. And from what I heard today, there's women who have been harassed by these Chinamen. There's reports of them peeking in people's windows and going through neighborhoods, just generally being, no good.
A nuisance, yeah.
And I'm not saying that it's because of their race. I'm just saying the circumstances, of course, would lead up to this.
Well, and we all know that Chinamen can't be trusted.
Right. And really, like a communist force like that really can't be. What is,
right.
what do they truly believe in? And what there's no doubt in my mind they have no cares for this nation or the Navajo Nation for that matter.
I want to know, I'm so curious. So, because we don't know if they're illegals or they are legal. I want to know what they're getting paid. Like, what is your average Chinaman working in a pot farm? Oh, sorry, hemp. Sorry, hemp farm. Get, like, what's his daily wage?
Probably some belly lint and a couple pennies, dude.
I know for a fact there was one lady I talked to today, and she said that when they are off work, she said there's a bunch of them that actually lives in a trailer house right close to her property.
Right.
All they do is smoke cigarettes and drink.
Well, given the circumstances, if I was shipped off to the reservation, that's probably all I would do. All things considered.
So they got to have some money. Somewhat, because she said they constantly are drinking beer and whiskey and smoking.
No kidding, and it's kind of like, right. So I mentioned 6 to 12 bodies. That's immediately the question that everyone wants answered, right?
Mm-hmm.
What on earth? And so this is the deal too: is that these bodies aren't recently found; these are extremely decomposed. They were found recently, but they aren't recently deceased, right?
Right.
Between these 6 to 12 individuals, they can't identify a race, which also probably means they didn't have any papers with them. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So this kind of implies, I kind of am leaning on the fence saying that these are probably dead, malnourished Chinamen. That they've just
I would think so, yeah.
Because they don't have to deal with the consequences of, dead workers. They just... It is what it is to them.
Well, when there's no record of you officially being there,
right,
then they don't have to answer the cops.
Yeah.
And now what they can do, and depending on if they're able to, the coroner can identify, or the autopsy, if there's anything left, can identify what race that skeletal structure was, which they kind of can do to a certain extent. If they can't differentiate it from that of a native, then they're going to have a real problem.
Right. And that's what I'm kind of like going towards. So, from what I was hearing, is that the FBI will be involved. The feds are going to start investigating these farms to figure out exactly what is going on. Which is kind of laughable that it hasn't gone there already. but at the same time,
Right.
I'm not surprised. I mean,
Right.
it's out there, and it is what it is. It's basically the Wild West on the reservation, man. It's
Mm-hmm.
and I always tell people, if you're gonna die and you want to be remembered, don't die on the reservation. If you want somebody to know you're dead, then don't die out there, because it's gonna be years before anybody finds out.
Well, that's what they're probably going to be making a counter accusation with all these bodies. There are is well they were because those hemp farms have not been there very long.
Right.
And so all they're going to do is say, well, we didn't know anything about those bodies. That must be just native bodies or somebody else that stashed them out here. It wasn't us.
Mm-hmm. Which is, malarkey.
Yeah.
At best.
Well, yeah, but that's the thing. If they cannot differentiate at least the race of those bodies, then they still have plausible deniability.
Right. It's going to be very interesting looking at this, and it's odd. I mean, it's just so bizarre. Like, I couldn't make this up. Like, 2020's already been wacko.
It's been crazy.
On the American scale alone, the entire country's gone cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
Sure.
I mean, we've been going cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. I think this whole nation has showed itself to be pretty nuts since 2016. We've seen the side of the left. We've seen what's all been going on just because the other side doesn't get their way all the time. But 2020 has been a special case because we had our entire nation, as well as the entire world, pretty much go in lockdown mode because we had a mediocre flu that, personally, I still ain't seen it. People I've met with COVID, right? I have met one. Or a few.
Right.
Let's put it that way. And the one I did meet was like, yeah, anyways, man, so I was saying, I was like over here this day and I was doing this. And that was it. I'm sitting there and I'm like, this is what they've shut down the nation over. Is a freaking croup, And so anyways, but you got that going on. You've got Joe Biden versus Trump, another thing that's just like, what? Like, seriously, right? Like, just because I know it doesn't seem that weird right now. Take your time and think about it, right? Like, there was a time when this nation wasn't that nuts.
I have only one thing to say.
Oh, no.
Despacito.
Yeah, is bad. So, before we get off the hemp,
slowly,
I've got something to talk about concerning the song Despacito. You're going to love it. Slowly.
But I want to inhale your neck.
Right.
Slowly.
All right. The hemp houses are, I would say, a very prominent threat. It's something that is absolutely terrifying for the people of the reservation. I think they should be on their edge and ready to act, ready to move, ready to defend themselves.
Oh, I agree.
There's imagine they all start unifying and robbing houses like some kind of South African farm raid, right?
Yeah.
They start organizing stuff and there'd be no one out there to stop them. There'd be nothing to stop them. They could just go out to one of these native farms, have their way with these native farmers, family, and then rob them of everything they have and go back to their hemp farms all fine and good, and no one would do anything about it. That's why...
nobody would know.
Yeah. And that's why I'm saying this needs to be dealt with immediately. These illegals, these Chinese illegals, need to be incarcerated and deported unless they're willing to go through the process to become a citizen of this nation. Because right now, you have someone with no paperwork, no way to tie them to our society, and nothing to keep them from doing harm. Because these dudes are literally, somebody gets shot on the west side of town, there ain't going to be nothing backing it up. Nobody's going to have any clue who done it, why they did it, or what's going on. It's very insecure, it's very unsafe, and it's just nonsensical. All in the name of a profit for Dene Benali. And he doesn't care about his people. He doesn't care about the natives that might suffer. All he cares about is making a buck. He doesn't even care about the workers. He doesn't care about the Asians he's hired. Obviously, I'm really kind of inclined to believe that these really are, that there is, those 6 to 12 bodies are dead Asians. Not to mention the shootouts that have already happened that way, which was another thing.
And this these Asians could very well be slave labor.
It could be. They might very well be slaves. Or who knows? What a perfect backup, right? That, even if one of them squealed to the local populace about something truly evil going on, they'd be like, sorry, I don't understand Cantonese. And it would just be rough. And it's just like perfect for this, the worst. Worst case scenario, the rough. You know what I mean? It'd just be like a dog barking in the night. You don't know what it's for. It's just barking.
Are you comparing Cantonese to dogs?
No. But you are what you eat.
Maybe cats.
Right. Anyways. Going on from that. Joe Biden's latest gaffe is probably my favorite one he's ever made.
Oh, this is your favorite?
This is my favorite gaffe because of just how awful it is, and even the young people can see how bad it is.
Dude, it was so cringe. Like, yeah. I watched the video, and I could just feel like it was just tension.
Yeah, you can kind of hear the whole crowd like, oh no. And it's, there's even this, there's this meme, and there's a scene, I guess, in How to Train Your Dragon, one of the sequels, where a guy turns around and sees something is loose, and he's like, it's loose! And they put, it's like, Joe Biden's cell guard when he realizes that he failed. He's loose! And it's just one of those things that's like, why? I swear Joe Biden exists at this moment as, like, I don't even think he's gonna win, and I don't think they have him to win. I think it's literally to drive this nation insane. Like, it's just one more thing to be like, it's a circus. You spend enough time in a circus, you're gonna start acting like a damn clown. And that's how I feel about it. It's like I'm watching all these monkeys flying around, and they're just doing all these tricks in this nation right before my eyes. They're jumping off of buildings. They're singing stupid songs, and they're making really stupid and off-shade jokes. And everyone's just sitting there like, no, we're not in the circus. This is actually just Wall Street. Chill out.
This is just any other day.
It's just any other day. And it's it's the same thing where it's like the frogs are jumping, but they're in the pot and they don't even realize they're boiling.
What? It's like I was telling you. I've often wondered, like, how society is going to be so nonchalant during the Great Tribulation, when everything starts happening and the Antichrist comes, and like, so the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, each one starts showing up and doing stuff, and it says each time is like, and yet they still didn't turn to God. And I'm like, what in the world? Why? You see this stuff up in the air and happen and all this stuff, you're like, oh wow, we need to repent. This is some crazy stuff. But it's all conditioning, because 2020 has taught us, it's just another thing to add to the pot. It's just normal life.
That's what I mean. The president the guy who's trying to be president, this Joe Biden character, right? This absolutely dementia-ridden fool is just another thing to add to the pot. Mm-hmm. And so I was saying, he comes out here, and he's been talking a lot about the Latin community. I think that's because
he's trying to get the Latin vote.
That's his only hope, is I think what he believes. And I think he, just like the Democrats, genuinely thinks so lowly of the Latin people, and any minority for that matter, that they genuinely believe them to be that stupid.
Mm-hmm.
And I've never thought that about any person south of the border that I've met. They're usually very hard workers, very commonsensical people. You know what I mean? They can
particularly what he's trying to target is the Cubans in Florida.
Oh boy.
Mm-hmm. That's where this was. That's where this speech was in Florida.
Oh no, that's especially bad.
But the thing is, what's hilarious is Cubans, they know what socialism is.
Right.
And they lived it.
Yeah, so let me go here. I can actually load up a little bit of that. But Despacito is a love song that's sung in Spanish. And it's a popular pop song. Like, I remember all the teenagers listening to it. Even Justin Bieber did a cover of it, right? Very popular pop. You know, it is what it is. So, Joe Biden comes out with his little phone, and he says, I've just got one thing to say. And he turns on his phone to play Despacito. And I can play like 5 seconds of it real quick. Hold on.
That won't get us banned, will it?
No, that's why I said I can only play like a few seconds of it, right?
Okay.
So like, I'm going to play that. Hold on. I got to get to the lyrical part. But if you don't know the song, you may have heard it, so that's why I'm going to do this. Hold on. So I'm kind of playing it off and on. Yeah, so it's to kind of give you that drift, it's Spanish, right? And I don't know why on earth he did this. Because there's a certain meme out there, and I'll pull that up too. There's a certain meme out there with Steve Buscemi, that old like weird looking guy who's in a lot of films. Right. He's like, "Hey kids," and he's got a skateboard over his shoulder. Yeah, how do you do, fellow kids? Hold on, I'm gonna save that into things. But like, it's an adult trying to appeal to, like, I guess a younger generation of Latin, or like trying to appeal to them because the song's singing their language. I can't.
He is so out of touch with everyone, and especially minorities. Because this is what's hilarious. The Democrat Party tries to say that they're the party for minorities. Right. And this proves right here, they think you're stupid.
They think you're stupid. And yeah, here we are. I got it up.
And this is proof right here. And it's same as being interviewed by Cardi B. So that was his black version of this.
Right. Insanely out of touch. Laughably so, where I almost wanted to say manipulative, but it's not even good enough to be manipulative. And trust me, he is, but he's too damn retarded to be manipulative. To put it that way.
You know, the black one, the Cardi B one,
yeah.
Some of the black community actually liked it though.
I'm sure. Right, and that's whatever. I'm sure some of the Latin community found Joe Biden's stupidity to be charming. But that's not a representation of, anybody with a brain in their head.
I can't believe anybody would have, like, why can't you see through this? It's just, that's what's beyond me.
Right, if anything, I would have considered that, like, isn't that, what do they call that? It's like when someone's pretending to be something they're not in a different race. Cultural appropriation.
Well, see, and Hillary Clinton did the same thing with the hot sauce fiasco.
I carry hot sauce in my purse. Yeah, and then there was the other thing, Elizabeth Warren. I'm a Native American. No, you're not.
Oh, yeah, well, that's not even cultural appropriation. That's like straight up perjury. Well, straight up just freaking lies.
Well, I mean, that's like, Joe Biden really caring about minorities is just outright ridiculous. Just nuts.
Well, the Spanish people are a very diverse people, but the blacks,
right? From
the blacks.
Oh, man, that was bad. Like, yeah, it does kind of throw me back to what he said that day, which was, well, the Latins are pretty diverse, but the blacks need to learn how to be more accepting, which is kind of like, I don't think you have any room to be saying that, Mr. Biden. at all. Like, one, your race, two, whatever reason, just don't go saying shit like that, and people might not be like, hey, dude, that's kind of effing racist.
Here's the real thing that he was meaning, right. And it's really racist. We are trying to get the Latino vote. We own the blacks, just like we owned them on plantations.
Right.
They belong to us.
Right. That's what he's saying, And
if you don't vote the way we want you to,
then you ain't
black man.
Yeah.
Then you ain't black.
Yeah. And it is very manipulative in that way. And it's so ridiculous to me because it's like, what is this, 1953? You know what I mean? Like, is there freaking open rallies of the Democrat KKK running around really trying to sway opinion by terrorizing? Well, actually,
that's probably what we're going to see next. Is Biden's going to have a speech? He's going to have a German Shepherd sicking it on black people.
Right. He's going to be like, "Listen here, bud," But no, that's what I'm saying. Like,
if you don't vote for me, I sick my dog on you because you ain't black.
It's very much like the early 1960s in the South. There is violent gangs going around beating people up without any right or reason based on skin color and belief system, just beating them up.
Right.
Trying to kill them. But luckily, this hate group, Antifa Marxists and Black Lives Matter Marxists, the same demon, in my opinion, and everybody else's opinion on the show, they're trying to subvert people's rights and destroy their right to think and free will. And the way they're doing it is through terrorism and outright manipulation. Despacito. Which, again, that was a very pitiful attempt. Because all you just made the Latin community go is like, dude, that is bad. Like, all of them as a whole are like, even if they like Biden, they're going to be like, all right, well, that was pretty cringe,
It's like, that was bad.
And
they've already made excuses for him. Like, well, you see, he's just trying to relate to a broader audience, and we know Joe means well. He's Joe.
Yeah, well, if you look at the lyrics of Despacito, I do think it's very hilarious he picked that song. You were quoting them earlier. What were they?
Oh, and actually I heard some of this from the Rush Limbaugh show, so I want to make sure and add my source that Rush was talking about it. And he did the whole song. He translated the whole song from Spanish to English and said it on his show, and it was freaking hilarious. I was dying because there's one part where it says, "I want to inhale the scent of your neck slowly." He's all, "Holy cow, that does sound like Bible."
Right, yeah, he definitely likes to sniff on hair. It's very odd. I honestly don't know why he's gotten as far as he has. It's absolutely mental. But anyways, you had that going on, and amidst other things, I mean, it is what it is. Biden's a freaking goofball, but we all knew that. Just one more thing to add to the pot. And I do gotta say, man, it's been a weird week, right? It seems like ever since May began, we haven't had a show where we could just sit down, chill out, and relax, And
right.
Honestly, I can't help but wonder if it's a calm before the storm. And who knows? Like, there's some prophets and stuff saying that things are gonna be interesting after today. Who knows what that could imply or what that even begins to mean, but all I know is that, well, we will see in due time. Anyways, how was your whole thing with the ISS, man? I gotta go grab some water.
Kind of disappointing. I set up everything because I found out that the International Space Station has a new crossband repeater that's made from Kenwood. Hold on one second. Sorry, I'm back. So the crossband repeater, what it does is you go in VHF and you come out UHF, and that's actually on the International Space Station. They chose a Kenwood system for that, and the theory with it is see, since it's way up the air, you talk into the Kenwood on VHF. It comes out UHF, and you can talk to somebody else, like in, South America or whatever. And then you can talk to each other that way. Well, unfortunately, I couldn't even receive anything, and it come as far as laterally, it come within 93 miles of my house. And it's how many ever miles it is up, 112 miles up or whatever orbit is. I forget what orbit is.
I'll have to look that up.
But unfortunately, I wasn't able to receive anything, so I was actually very disappointed.
Right, and that is like, I remember you mentioning it earlier today, and I was like, I look forward to hearing about that. It's about 62 miles, which I was thinking. I was like, okay, and I think that's just till we break the barrier of, like, gravity, right?
I was gonna say that's just right at the edge of space. I'm talking about like where the ISS is in orbit.
How many miles from the ground is the ISS? 240. Damn!
Yeah, and it was up there.
That is up there indeed. So that is kind of a bummer. I was like, if you were able to record it, you could send that to me and I'd open up with that and it'd be really cool. I'd like bleep out your call signs and all that. But other than that, I was like, shoot, yeah. I don't know. That's really cool that like ham radio. It's just one more thing you can do with short band and all that frequency is you can talk to people in space.
Right.
I mean, granted though, if that was real, we're both convinced tonight that it's all just a hologram and that the Earth is flat and there's no more hope left for mankind.
Yeah, I was pretty pissed.
Just kidding. We don't believe that. But, on that note. So, Warspirit, if you had to drink, if you could have any liquor in the world, what would you go about drinking, my man?
Any liquor in the world? Well, I'm not a huge liquor guy.
Alcohol.
Any alcohol? Probably some really, really high-end vodka.
Something like something harvested in the Alps of Finland, right? Like
yeah, or maybe like some straight up like calm block Russian vodka, just to say that I drink it.
Right, something that'll like take the paint off a car.
Yeah, but it's like we made this we made this back in Soviet Union, comrade. I know, it'd just be kind of cool. Or also maybe a really, really high end bourbon, just to try it.
Right. And you know what I would like to try, just to say that I tried it. I just remembered this thing. It's got a wild boar on it. And it actually exists. It's called Atomic, and it's Atomik. It's got a wild boar on it next to some trees. I'll throw it up on the show. And it's made... Well, let me go ahead and throw it up real quick. And I'm going to throw this at you as well, Warspirit, so you can get a kick out of it. I'll throw it in show notes. This drink is called Atomic, and it's actually brewed in the Chernobyl zone. And for me to not go ahead and say that one would just be a travesty.
It's brewed. How is it brewed in the Chernobyl zone?
Well, I'm not really sure. Maybe it's grown. Maybe the fruits are grown there, and they take it somewhere else. Like, I don't know, but the point of it is that there is actually a little bit of radiation in this vodka, which I don't know why that would even... To me, that kind of makes me stay away from it. Like, if it wasn't for that, I would have ordered one already. You know what I mean? But
Mm-hmm.
because I'm sitting back on it, it's like that's pretty cool. 47% alcohol, atomic, very specific to that region of Chernobyl, and Russian vodka. It's just kind of like one of those dark tourism things, I guess. Um, but that one is one I would
That's
definitely like
just
to
it.
try.
Like, so is it giving off radiation sitting there?
It can't be much, right? That's all I could figure is that it can't. It probably not out of the bottle. You could probably like hold the bottle up to your forehead and be all chill.
Right. Well, and I will say this: a lot of people they freak out over like even small rads, and it's kind of funny here in the San Juan County area. You know how a lot of, especially like bullpens and corrals and pastures and stuff are made out of oil and gas pipe, right? Tubing, old tubing.
Right? Yeah.
Um, did you know that with it being 8,000 feet below the surface, when it comes back up, it has radiation. It's absorbed radiation.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of things like even just out in the sun. And I was always curious as a kid. I still have them. I call it a Penn Geiger counter. And the bad thing about the Penn Geiger counter is that it's not so much for detecting radiation while you're in it. It's for detecting how much you've been through in a day. And you put it like where your pens go in your shirt pocket, right? And it would just sit there. And I used to carry that around with me. And one time, because how you see it, like you put your eye up to the sun or a light source, and you can see in there, and it's this little. Have you ever messed with what I'm talking about, Warspirit?
I guess I haven't.
Yeah, it's a very interesting little thing. It's a little pen sensor of like radiation, and most of the time, of course, as it should, it stayed pretty down, other than sunlight and that sort of thing. But one time I looked up at it, and it was halfway up, and that's not exactly like a good thing. Mind you, it is something from the 50s, but it was. I was looking at that, and I was like, you know what? And I think it was like I was working around a lot of dust that day, and you live in New Mexico, you're bound to run up on some fucking dust. Sorry, I did not mean to cuss. My apologies, everyone. I really try to keep it child friendly and everything, but I don't know. I don't really have an excuse. I will continue to try better. But anyways, as time goes on, yeah, liquor wise, the atomic vodka from Chernobyl is very interesting, and the reason I thought of that one is like, yes, comrade, we've brewed our own vodka in the basement of Babushka's apartments. Yeah, and it's just like, yeah, try it, and you'll try like one shot, and you'll just instantly black out. And that is something I would like to try. Even more than going to Chernobyl nowadays, like I would like to visit it, but I don't want to stay there like I used to, because radiation is just there's better ways to die. Let's just put it that way. And I wouldn't want to have like all kinds of genetic issues because I wanted to go visit an abandoned city, albeit it's really cool and I have a dream to go there still. But my excitement to go to the Ukraine would be to see the civil war that's still kind of ongoing between them and the Russians, and also drink with like some of the rebels and maybe shoot at Russians. I think that'd be a lot of fun. I don't know about you, but I think that would be the most enjoyment I could get from a trip to the Ukraine.
Yeah, I guess if he was going to go to Ukraine,
Right.
that'd be the way to do it. Personally, I'll pass. But
Right. You're like, I've had my adventures. I'm good. Mr. Paraguay, uh, Argentina. That's it.
Paraguay, Argentina, y Brazil.
E Brazil. Brazil. No, old Brazil. So it is a chill shot, and so I figured I'd go ahead, and I did. I took one shot of Crown Royale just a few moments ago. And I do gotta say, out
Is
of all the
that is that
whiskeys,
the reason why you slipped up and cussed? You.
it might have been. I'm not. That's why I was like, I
Well,
don't really have an excuse, but being that we're not really talking about pertinent news, I was like, well, we might as well have a couple drinks. as long as we're not plastered. But drinking is part of the American dream as much as it is the Russian dream. So cheers to that.
Right.
And as time goes on, let's see. I quite like Crown Royal. I'm about to say I kind of didn't like whiskey for a long time. It's like every whiskey I had was kind of like eh. But I gotta say, Crown Royal is definitely a new. That's good. That's actually really good. Oh, my grandmother passed away today.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, and that is it is one of the sadder things to have come about. It's just one of those things I haven't really bawled out about it. Maybe that's just because it hasn't hit, but it's just kind of one of those things. She was in a lot of pain. I remember that in her older age, she was in a lot of pain, and luckily, and that's what the first thing I said to when I was told of the news today was, hallelujah, her pain is gone. I got the day off early today, which was nice. I came home, took a nap, and went to go comfort my mother. And it was just generally, other than that, it was a pretty good day today. I'm just happy that that's one less person suffering that I know closely. So kind words and prayers to my family, everybody. I really would appreciate it. It's just it's much appreciated. My half of my family, as you understand, it's a big deal, and they're freaking out about it. Warspirit, what other things can we bring to the discussion tonight?
So, since we're kind of was on the topic of radios and with International Space Station and stuff, I know we've talked about, the Baofeng radios and their versatility. And they're great and all, but man, I've been looking at a radio. Let me see if I can find it here.
Sorry, I must got
You
COVID.
okay there, buddy?
Yeah, no, I'm fine. Got the COVID.
Gosh, the COVID.
I must, right?
You're
That's about all I've heard from people coughing.
sucking down that stuff that burns your throat.
Chuffing on those ciggies, Damo.
Too right.
Too right. Always boring me later. No, I've taken up vaping again. I know that I quit for a bit, but I was really that Mobilecast stuff that threw me in a whirl at Mobilecast. Some kind of BS stuff. Just some kind of like regulations and stuff going on locally that just was like, oh my gosh, I can't stand it.
Oh yeah, I heard about that on the news, I think, or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's no biggie. It's no big word.
It was just like they were like, "Does this apply to you?" And like everywhere I was like, "No, I don't really care about it. I don't even know like anything about that. Leave me alone." And it was just like stress for no reason.
Mm-hmm.
But as time goes on, so the radio stuff, I know. Well, actually, I don't know if I'll just leave that to you. I don't want to reveal anything about you. Live
So, yeah. So there's several brands of radios out there, and of course the Baofeng is one of them. There's one that actually predates Baofeng, and Americans say Waxon. It's actually Ocene. It's another Chinese radio. And you want to talk about some cool radios they have been bringing out as of late. And I'm looking for one to show you right now. They're a little bit more expensive than the Waxon.
Right.
But you get a lot more radio for your money.
No kidding.
And let's see, there we go. It's copy, and oh well, I can't send it to I'll send this to this so you can see it. Maybe you can put it on to show our listeners.
Okay.
This model of radio, and I call it walks on. It's a really good. It's a little bit more robustly built. That's another kind of bad thing about the UV5Rs. If you've noticed, is sometimes they feel kind of chintzy. The clip breaks really easy. It's just kind of cheap.
Right. So let me see here. I think I can stream my window. Yeah, I can stream my website window. There we go. So I'm streaming from. I got the website up showing the 446 shop.
There you go. Yes. So 446 shop,
and I can actually manipulate this like. So for $169, that one looks actually pretty tough.
Well, and this is 10 watts out. Yeah.
Okay.
And it covers 7 different bands on receive. So basically, if you'll scroll down here with me, if you're actually on their site,
yeah.
it goes from 108 megahertz, so you can listen to the air bands, all the way up to 957 megahertz.
Yeah, wait a minute. 985?
No, 985.
Yeah.
So that's on the receive. Now you can transmit from 136 to 174 and 400 to 512.
Nice.
That's still huge.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
And so, have you heard? And I've mentioned them before, but have you heard of a crossband repeater?
Well, I might have, but I would be absolutely terrible at telling you what that means. So.
Okay, so for you and for our listeners out there, a crossband repeater is, well, do you know what a regular radio repeater does? Everybody. So you have like one guy on, like, for example, maybe say the Aztec side of things, and you want to be able to talk to somebody in Farmington. Well, you can't do that simplex.
Right.
So you need a repeater. So you put a repeater up on a mountain, and your radio signal goes up to the repeater. It receives the signal, and then it sends, at the same time, it's sending that signal off to where you can hear it. And then you can do vice versa back to your buddy. Well, and that's what's called a duplex repeater. So you're working on the same frequency, or the same, like a VHF frequency, and you got your input and output. But a crossband repeater is, I might be going in VHF, but then it gets transmitted out UHF, and so I don't need a duplexer.
Right.
All a duplexer does is it makes it to where you only have to have one antenna for 2 radios.
Right. Would you trust 446, by the way? The shop?
Yes.
Because I noticed in the top left here it said not secure, and I was like, uh-oh, we're going to give everybody a virus.
Yeah, it's the same as like ordering off like Alibaba. I mean,
right.
The same risk. I would not give them my credit card number. I would use PayPal.
Okay.
So for those of you out here, if you're going to order anything, do not get on this website and put your credit card information in there.
Good.
There is an option to use PayPal on all of these Chinese websites. So use PayPal. But so this radio can be a crossband repeater. So I can take this radio, stick it up in a tree, like up on a mountain, and then walk back down to the other side of the ravine, and you could be on the other side, and we have our cheap, like, bow phones.
Right.
And we can talk through the walk-on back down.
Nice.
And so you have this little bitty handheld radio that it turns into a repeater.
That's real nice.
Yeah. So it's tons. Dude, it is tons and tons. Oh, I would be so jealous of you if you got one of these. I'd be like, hey, John, you want to go play? Huh?
I would prefer
buddy.
I'd prefer the guy who knows how to work this stuff to have the best radio, personally.
No, I'm going to get one eventually. Just right now, funds. But so yeah, it does so much good, cool stuff. If you look down here, it also has a stun kill function. So if somebody steals this radio from you, you have to have this set up, of course, but it's not hard to set it up when you're programming it. If somebody steals the radio from you, like especially like Tiatawaki, to where crap, now they have our frequency, I can kill the radio.
Nice.
With my radio, with a DTMF code. So it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines down from the last megahertz, the 700 to 985.
Okay.
It says stun, kill, monitor, and inspection.
Yep, there it is.
So a stun kill feature, that's actually in a lot of cop radios. So if you steal like a sheriff's deputy's radio, they can kill it.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's handy, man. This thing is like a dream come true.
It's a freaking awesome radio.
Granted, I mean, for a Biofunk being only about $30, that's about, you can't. It's hard to beat that. But
well, and it is because you can buy several of them. Because I've had people like, well, they're shit, they're cheap, they're shit, they fall apart. Well, yeah, but you can buy 3 of them. So if one breaks, you have another one.
Well, I got one sitting around. I don't even know where it came from. So,
that's how cheap they are. Like you lose track where, like how many you have. You're like,
yeah.
Whereas this one is it's more expensive, so you're gonna kind of treat it with more kit gloves. Another thing I like about the Baofungs is you can throw it like in your hunting gear, and forget about it.
Right.
So you're like, you're looking,
you're not like, freaking out and like, oh my gosh, my radio's
down. Yeah, this one you're going to be freaking out on.
Yeah, $160.
Because 170, yeah, $170 is nothing to sneeze at.
Right, and it looks like it's on discount from a normal price of $200, so we might want to hop on this.
Well, the Chinese always do that on these websites. They always say, usually is this. It's always just...
Maybe we could go down to the hemp farms and find us one.
We might be able to.
Right.
We might be. We definitely...
Switch.
So more of these sites used to be where I got a lot of my stuff rather than Amazon. And I don't even know if they sell this one. They might sell it on Amazon. Let me look real fast. I've always just used these kinds of websites for radio stuff.
Yeah. Well, it seems like harder and harder to get in our Western sites, that's for sure.
Well, yeah, because especially the advent of the whole, like, you can't get the... Supposedly, you're not supposed to be able to get the same kinds of radios anymore, but we've had so many freaking many of them that doesn't really matter.
Right. And it is nice, even if you're trying to run an organization, like there's a few churches in town that use the Baofeng system. It's cheap. And if you need like walkie-talkies, it's hard to beat. You got a trusty walkie-talkie. Because I can't tell you how many times I've bought, you cheap out on walkie-talkies, right?
Yeah.
And even just a standard walkie-talkie is useful in a attack scenario. I mean, hell, militaries to this day and police still use walkie-talkies, dude, generally. But that's the thing. It's like you cheap out and you're going to like try to get it to work and it's just, there's going to be something wrong with it. You know what I mean?
Dude, I found the same radio on Amazon for $140.
Then Amazon would probably be the bang for your buck on that regard. Thank you, Jeff Bezos.
That's even a Prime item.
Nice. Well, if the deep state's willing to fund their demise, then by all means. So, uh,
The Electric Boogaloo, funded by Amazon.
right. You know, another topic that's been coming on a lot this week is, it's so funny to me, and it's kind of a blessing. My buddy, old IT, he, just like me, we like to have a smoke now and again. And, the time came around where he was like, hey, I'm going to go buy some smokes. He walks in, and guess what? There's a sign that says you can't.
Right.
And it's like, you got to be 21 to buy smokes now. And I was just thinking of the concept, right? Because I was looking at this, it's like, hell, you can pretty much join the military at 17 and be in combat by 18. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't know, man. Like, cigarettes and whiskey and all that is kind of like a personal decision. But apparently, like, enlisting and all that is kind of like, there's adults around. It's okay. Don't worry.
Right.
And I don't really know where America has kind of gone so awry with its smoking restrictions and stuff. Like, you can't really just walk down the street without seeing a no smoking sign. And it's at a park.
Right.
You're just kind of sitting there, you're like, I'm not saying that you should. I'm just saying as adults, there's way too many restrictions on adults that shouldn't exist. And, like, so for example, right, like I was saying this idea of 18. 18 is such a sweet spot. It's such a perfect number. Why do we feel the need to throw this, like, arbitrary, like, you're no longer an adult at 18. You need to wait till 21. Like, what next is going to change, right? Are they going to say, that I wasn't allowed to consent to anything sexual I did when I was 18 with, like, a 23-year-old girl? Like, is that going to be a problem? Are those girls going to go to jail because I got funky with them when I was 18 and they were 23? Is that going to be a problem? Like, and that's what I sent back. It's like, all these people, like, there was no grandfathering in, which I was like, what? It's like all these kids, well, actually, I think there was. Like, if you were born in, like, 18 before the law was passed, they'd allow you to buy cigarettes. But for the most part, I think most gas stations and stuff that you stop at are going to be like, sorry, dude. Not going to...
That's just it. Like, regardless if it's legal or not, they ain't going to mess with it.
Right. Like, they're not going to pull it up on a computer and calculate it. They're just going to tell you, no, please leave, and I was just kind of looking at that, and I'm like, why are we so, like, I'm not going to say that's entirely right, but, like, say, for example, my mother, my grandmother, and my grandfather were, like, married to each other at 16 and 14 and had a house and a family by 18. And that's, like, for so many different people. And I'm looking at this, and I'm like, what has happened in this nation to make everyone so like, yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, like, sexual, that's why I said 18 is a perfect sweet spot. I don't think you can get any better with that. But, like, with the smoking and stuff like that, I'm like, I'll tell you what'll mess your life up. Like, sex, yeah, make that 18 all the way. But I'll tell you what'll really mess your life up is kids, right? Like, you get your kids, you get someone pregnant out of wedlock, it's going to mess you up a whole lot more on the short-term scale than cigarettes or whiskey.
Right.
Granted, whiskey and cigarettes are probably one of the leading causes of pregnancies, mostly the whiskey. And God, thank you for whiskey, or else this country and countries abroad probably wouldn't have that many people in them. But anyways, I was just like, how come, like, there's this 21 thing? I was like, why can I go mess my life up and get, and start a family, before I'm even 21, right? But I can't have a whiskey until then. Like, what is that? Well, why?
Right.
Why can't I go join the military, watch all my friends die, get my legs blown off by an IED, come home, and I can't even have a beard legally? Like, that's just so asinine to me that it blows my mind. And it doesn't really strike me as a free country. It's like, something's wrong when the Soviet Russians were allowed to drink at 16. You know what I mean? Yet we're sitting here, 21 is the minimum, you know, and I'm just like, what? Why? Like, I understand it, right? Like, 18, I think, across the board, period. Is this not a popular opinion? Who voted for this? Like, I don't even think there was a vote. What is this, some kind of executive order? Like, I know that the smoking was, and Trump, that's a little messed up. These are full-grown people, you know? But I don't understand it, man. Just kind of one of the more funnier topics. We used to talk about smoking. I was thinking about this a lot on the show. We used to talk about smoking and drinking like every show. Back in the day. But so, like, this just goes to show how chill it is this week. Because we actually have time to talk about it. Whereas we've had none all year. It's just been a constant influx of this is happening, boom, this is happening, and it's a big deal and freak out. And on another topic, it's still, after everything going on, Netflix still has that damn show up.
Yeah, unfortunately.
So what the heck? Like, what's going on in this country on every scale, right? Like, nothing makes sense. You have to be 21 to drink. You have to be 21 to smoke. But, whatever. We allow CP on our freaking airways for some godforsaken reason. We let communists burn down our cities, and there's just no end to it, and it's just insanity. And that's everywhere. The whole world's gone that way. But, right now, I'm just kind of... I say for the first time in a while, I'm just kind of looking forward to tomorrow. It's like, are we just we're gonna have a nice vacation from the insanity for once, just for a little bit, or is it just gonna wrap up? And honestly, at this point, I look forward to either way. I really do. And what I mean by that is that progress comes in tribulation, man. People are waking up. Occupied minds are coming about, and it's just a turn of the tide, dude.
Interesting information on those walk-ons that we were looking at.
Yeah.
Just so everybody out there knows, they are FCC certified. So that means they can never ban these radios.
Nice. That is a nice little bit. All the more reason to look into that. Ow.
Yeah, 10 watts, crossband repeat. That's a really good deal.
Let's see here. Well, you have any sentiments concerning any topics? Like, did we have anything else to go about tonight?
Well, I mean, is there something you would like for me to touch on as far as maybe
bug out
like
stuff?
Survival or yeah?
Well, I mean, if you got something, by all means, I think that'd be a very good idea.
Well, let's see here. I mean, kind of already covered the radio stuff, and I have been on a radio kick lately. I was able to acquire several radios from a friend of mine he would sell them on eBay and stuff, and I got a few Motorola radios, and so I'm trying to get those programmed up. Fun fact for you, Motorola are a bunch of jerks because they are not very friendly to the ham community, because they want you to pay to have these radios programmed through a dealer, and they want to charge you $50 a radio. And there's no way working around it unless you have or know somebody who has the programming software. So sometimes you can find those Motorola business radios really cheap on eBay, but beware, you're going to have to pay to program them.
Seriously.
Yeah, and so there's a hidden cost there if you get it. Now, don't get me wrong, Motorola radios are tanks. Their mobile radios will last for ages. That's why a lot of guys who build repeaters, they'll use Motorola because they can take continued transmit and not, even if they get hot, they're not gonna be damaged.
Right.
Just because they're tanks. Oh, and also consequently, most of your Motorola, like the ones like the police and fire use, are shielded against, and this is to a certain extent, against EM pulses.
Right. We've got
So if you're able to get a Motorola radio, and get it, or you're able to get it programmed, it has a better chance withstanding an EM pulse than, like, for example, like this Waxon does.
Yeah. An interesting bit of update. So Patriot 76 here has brought up an interesting thing that's going on right now concerning Syria and Russia. Have you heard anything about that? Syria,
No.
Russia, and us. So,
Okay.
I'm looking here. I went ahead and decided to Google it again. So, according to NBC, I'm going to give this a read over. The Pentagon is sending... Oh, gosh, NBC, please no. Just please stop. I don't want to look at ads. Okay, you know what? Screw NBC. Let's go to New York Times. Alright, so the U.S. is sending more troops to Syria to counter the Russians. The deployment of armored vehicles, advanced radar, and more fighter jets comes in response to a Russian convoy ramming in U.S. ground patrol, injuring seven soldiers. So I guess they rammed into one of our boys. Wow, bad idea. We still got Trump in here, remember?
They rammed into one of our tanks?
I guess they rammed into, like, I think it had to be, like, maybe a Humvee or an MRAP. Let me see here. The military said on Friday that it was sending Bradley fighting vehicles, advanced radar, and more fighter jet patrols to northeast Syria 3 weeks after a Russian armored vehicle rammed an American ground patrol. So maybe they were on foot.
Sounds like, yeah, they rammed into people.
Yeah, the reinforcements, which add about 100 troops to the more than 500... I gotta find this bit about Russia ramming into our boys. Hold on. Russia rams Americans.
Better look out. That actually might come up with some very interesting search results.
18 naked cowboys in Syria. Ram Ranch really rocks.
That's right.
We've got Boris coming in and MRAPs. Oh no. Let's see here. So, WashingtonPost.com, U.S. troops injured in altercation with Russian military patrol in Syria. U.S. service members were injured in an altercation with the Russian military patrol in which two vehicles collided, U.S. officials said, highlighting the fraught nature of security in a part of the country where U.S. troops are still deployed. The incident occurred in Derek in northern Syria, several miles from the Turkish border. The U.S. troops were in a mine-resistant armored vehicle and left the area to de-escalate the situation, said John Elliott, a White House spokesman. Quote, an unsafe and unprofessional action like this represent a breach of deconfliction protocols committed to the United States and Russia in December of 2019, Elliott said in a statement. The coalition and the United States do not seek escalation with any national military forces, but U.S. forces always retain the inherent right and obligation to defend themselves from hostile acts. The video recorded apparently by Russian forces and circulated widely on social media on Wednesday showed American and Russian military vehicles flying flags of their respective nations and speeding through an open field. A Russian military vehicle rams an American vehicle as at least one Russian helicopter flies low nearby. On Thursday, the Russian government said General Valery Gerasimov, the country's top general, told General Mark A. Milley, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, that the Russians had notified the U.S.-led coalition in accordance with existing rules. Russian presidential spokesman Dmitry Peskov said Gerasimov told Milley that the U.S. troops had attempted to block the Russian patrol, which he alleged took every step necessary to prevent the incident and proceed with its mission. The state-run TASS news agency reported. U.S. Central Command, which oversees American military operations in the region, disputed Russia's account. Them Russians did not use established deconfliction measures to request passage of a Russian convoy, said Navy Captain Bill Urban, a CENTCOM spokesman, in a statement. The Russians encountered a coalition patrol that included the Americans following an unauthorized incursion into eastern Syria and proceeded to aggressively and recklessly pursue the coalition convoy, including a sideswipe of a U.S. vehicle and an extremely low-level overflight by Russian helicopter, which resulted in 7 U.S. soldiers receiving injuries, the CENTCOM statement said. All 7 of the injured Americans were screened and have returned to duty, the statement added. The injuries included concussion-like injuries and muscular strains consistent with vehicle crashes. This is goofy, man. I'm sorry. I'm trying to keep a straight face. But it sounds like these Americans were just kind of like, hey, let's go mess with the Russians today. And the Russians were like, hey, let's go mess with the Americans. And they just had a... Something tells me that both sides were just kind of goofing off, and it got up to upper management, and now it's all just a pish-posh pissing match of countries. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty funny. The fact that Trump is sending more shite that way is actually kind of a good sign to me. I like that. Like, okay, the Russians rammed us. Well, we're going to make sure that they don't do it again. Good on you, Trump. I like that. And I understand that we've also been having trouble with the Russians in Alaska. They keep sending jets. They keep sending jets over this way, and we keep, pulling them over, more or less. The best way you can pull over a jet, and things have been escalating between us and Russia, but honestly, things have never really stopped between us and Russia. It's just changed. It's no longer a Cold War. It's just usually kind of like we just flex our balls at each other. It's like, we're going to fly over Alaska to scare the Americans. Oh. And then we're like, well, we're going to send ships over to, your ports and just have them sit there to scare you guys. Well, you can't do that. Well, you did it to us, so. And that's all that is. I honestly don't see any big conflicts with Russia. But, again, I've heard that... Russia and all that have actually been pushing for it behind the scenes, but I'm not scared of Russia. Their military is so bankrupt that it's not even scary. China remains our number one threat as of now. But if the Russians want to act a fool, trust me, I'd have no problem popping a Rusky, just like the Chinaman. I would have no issue with a dead communist. It's just, as long as they're attacking us, I'm not saying I'm going to go hunt anybody. I'm just saying, if these nations want to attack us, then all right, gloves off, let's go. This whole ordeal concerning the vehicles ramming into each other, though, I'm just kind of sitting back. I'm like, I think they were both out of their jurisdiction and acting a fool, and now it's reached the bureaucrats, and they're making a big deal out of it. Because, nobody died. Who's to say? And I wonder how that would be looked like if 7 troops died in that accident. If it would be like, what the storylines would say then. I wonder if that would, people would be like, well, let's start a war with Russia. They obviously meant to do that. But it kind of points into that they didn't use their guns, so it's kind of hard to say. Because in the scale of war today, you don't just ram into stuff, what is this? And who's to say it wasn't just an accident? I don't know.
Right.
Who knows? The vodka might have been coursing through their veins, and they just kept holding that throttle, and bam. But anyways, that's an interesting little topic. And I know you were talking about bug out stuff and radios. We've talked about boots. We've talked about gear in general. I have to say, what haven't we covered in that? We've covered sleeping bags. We've covered vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
Firearms. Almost every podcast we cover the best for our area, which is the AR platform, and pistols and that sort of thing. Radios. We love our radios. We love to talk about radios. Man, we've sure covered a lot of ground. Goodness gracious.
We have.
Wow. I never even realized it, how much ground we've covered. Let's see. Maybe climate, right? So I was thinking, maybe it's not in your best interest, for example, to go camp out in the mine shafts of Silverton. And I've heard somebody like, yeah, I'm going to go to the mine shafts of Silverton and camp out there. I'm like, while, that might be okay because it's underground, I'm kind of sitting back. I'm like, you're going to kind of be stuck there in the winter, man,
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to do much. It's just going to be freezing cold. Maybe the wildlife is rich, which I'm sure it would be. It's just kind of like one of those things. It's like, I don't know. I don't think going where it's cold is in everyone's best interest.
No, it wouldn't be. You're going to want somewhere, that's, defendable and hidden. But you gotta, you can't be like below freezing,
Right. Because there's, days up north that even in the daytime, it's never going to leave below freezing. It's going to stay cold.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, like, maybe you'd be better off in a bayou shack in Louisiana, honestly. I don't know.
That actually isn't too bad of an option. I've heard people say that before, but if you do live close to like either Louisiana or Florida or something, the bayous might be pretty safe for you if you know them. You can fish, you can live off the land, and the city folk ain't gonna go off into the bayou looking for you.
Boys got wind of Amos, hunting alligators down in the swamp.
That's right.
Gonna get you, boy, but they never come out again. Sure get lost in Louisiana bayou.
That's right.
That is a reference to Jerry Reed's Amos Moses. Very American song. If you guys want to check out a cool artist that's up there with Marty Robbins in my book, it's old Jerry Reed. But yeah,
gotta look out though, because he got pretty teeth.
Oh, I love Jerry Reed. I really do. He's got some classics, Eastbound and Down, and
yep.
What's that other bit? She got the gold mine, I got the shaft. That's a good one.
Oh yeah.
I say.
Actually, John, what we do need to cover, what we haven't covered yet, because we've talked about handheld radios. We haven't really talked about mobile vehicle mounted
and that's a good one.
Radios.
Yeah, there you go. Get into that.
So there's lots of different ones on the market. You can do your name brands like ICOM and Yaesu. They both have some great radios. In fact, you can find some of the older ICOM dual band, dual receive, like the IC2720. That's actually what I have in my truck because I've had it for years and years and years and years. You can find those on eBay for, $120, $130 sometimes. But the only bad thing about the older ones like the ICOMs is you can't program in an actual name. It's just a frequency. Now your Yaesus, Yaesu holds their value with radios, but that's because they're so Yaesu's just really high quality. And so like an 8900 or 7900 dual band, dual receive radio, when they first came out was about $300, and they're still about $300.
Right.
And So you're going to spend a lot if you want to get into Yaesu, but Yaesu is an amazing radio. But there's still, again, some Chinese offerings to it. TYT is one of them. Waxon also makes a mobile, the UV9P. There's a really cool one it's a really small mobile radio. It's not much bigger than a handheld, actually. Of course, it doesn't come with a battery, because it's made to hook up to a car battery. But it's about the size of probably like two Baofeng radios side to side.
There you go.
And now it doesn't give off 50 watts. It only gives off 25 watts, and it's 2 meters 70 centimeter. But it's also IP67 waterproof.
No kidding.
So that means you could mount this on a motorcycle. It could be outside. It could be so if you have a bike that you want to mount it on, you could mount this radio on a bike, and it would be perfectly okay in the rain, in the snow. You could even make this a man-packed radio and put it inside your pack, and then put an antenna on there, and so then you could have a mobile, even better than a handheld, but with 25 watts, and just carry some little gel cell batteries. So there's lots of options. TYT also shamelessly makes a copy that looks just like the Yaesu 8900, and it's a quad band radio. So it is 6 meters, 10 meters, 2 meters, and 70 centimeters.
All right.
And they usually go for about 220, 230, right in that range. The little the waterproof one, I'm trying to think. Let me look it up here. It's the THT, the 8600. The 8600, and that's the one that's IP67 waterproof. It's right now on Amazon for $140.
Right.
Again, you just can't beat these prices on Amazon anymore. It's been a while since I have ordered radios, so
right.
Good on them for that.
Right.
What was you gonna say?
Nothing. I just so like while you were going on about these awesome ideas, like putting a radio in your car, you can usually work a lot more. Like you can put more shite on it, like to carry around, like a bigger antenna, more reach. Just
yeah.
You can work with that, and also it's like because I remember our Biofungs having trouble just with the car roof. You know what I mean? Like that.
Well, and that's just it. I mean, even if all you do have is a Baofeng, I still do highly recommend buying an external antenna with a mag mount, right, and a connection that you can connect your handheld to, because you're going to be able to get out a lot further. And it doesn't matter how many watts you have in a radio, if your receive sucks, it's no good. I often hearken the antenna to a radio is the optics to a rifle.
Yeah.
You can have this phenomenal half-inch MOA precision rifle, but if you do not put good glass on it, it's going to be a shit rifle.
Yeah. And all that going on, and you're right. I like the idea of being able to have that reach, as well as being able to efficiently communicate in a vehicle platform.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, you don't have to like finick, you don't have to like strap up your Baofeng somewhere. You just turn this little thing on, get your little CB handheld looking thing. What do they call that? It's a thing that plugs into the Baofeng if you want to, the external microphone.
Oh yeah. Your microphone jack.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a name for those, but You just kind of press the button on that transmit, and it also comes back through that, sort of thing. So,
you mean the button for transmit? Is that what you're wanting to ask, or the microphone itself?
It's a little coiled up wire and leads out from your radio, and you press a button on it, and you can talk through it.
It's called a microphone.
Yeah, the microphone then. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, or mic for short. Same as like singing and whatever. It's the same thing.
Okay, I just want to there's like a name for those specifically.
Well,
microphone.
If they have a keypad on the microphone, they could be called a control head mic.
Okay.
But if they're just yeah, and in fact, this 8600, this TYT that I'm looking at, the 25 watt that's waterproof, does have a keypad on the microphone. So you can, control the radio. So then it's pretty cool, and I got that on my radio in the truck. As you're driving, if you want to change frequencies, you already have the mic in your hand usually while you're talking. So you can just do that, so you don't have to lean over, mess with the radio or whatever. You just change it right there on the fly. And so it's really, really handy to be able to do that. I'm actually looking at Chirp right now, the programming software. So Chirp does have the TYT TH8600 in their programming free band software, so you can program this through Chirp. I highly recommend, if you get a radio, to buy a programming cable for it. Because yes, while you can manually program and save frequencies into a radio, it's a pain in the ass. And you usually don't end up getting near as many frequencies saved in there because you get tired of doing it. Right. Whereas if you have it on the computer, you put all these frequencies in and you just hook it in, and it inputs all of them. It's a lot easier.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
The hassle with that radio stuff, and it's not that bad, right? Like, that's something I don't want people to be intimidated by. Radios are not that hard. It just takes a little bit of time and a little bit of dedication, and you're set.
Yeah.
A little bit of patience, a little bit of time, and just general studying. Like, it's like, especially for the younger crowd, it's like, you will work hours on end to get a video game to work through, like, coding or whatever, modifications. It's no different. If you can do that, you can figure out a radio. And it's even simpler for a radio,
Exactly. And you're 100% right, John. I know a lot of guys, it'll just be like one little thing, too, that like ticks them off about a game or something. Like the frame rate dropped like 10 frames per second or something. It's like, really, dude, you're going to spend half a day messing with your game over that. Right. So if you got the patience to do that, radios aren't going to be a big deal for you. A lot of these mobile radios too, which is pretty cool, they will also act as a crossband repeater. And so now you have a bigger antenna because it's on your truck, and you got this in here, so you can park your truck like on top of a mountain or a ridge or whatever. And as you and your group, say half of you want to go on one side of the ridge, and the other half want to go on the other side, and then you'll meet like at the end of that ridge or whatever. You have communication the whole way down through there.
Yes, and having a vehicle attachment will, of course, help you with that. Larger antennas, larger reaching. I mean, so on and so forth. It's one of those things. I look forward to it. You said you're going to help me hook one up in my truck, and I was like, yes. Like, imagine that flex, right? Like, I pick up a girl, and she can hear, like, cop chatter, and she's like, ooh, this guy's something else.
Yes, but we need to get you your license, my friend.
Oh, so I can transmit legally. Yeah.
That is very correct.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I will warn y'all with this. Okay, so it is not illegal to have a mobile radio in your vehicle if you don't have a license. But it is going to look really odd if you get into an accident or whatever to the officer if you do not have an explanation of why you have that radio in your truck. Just saying. It's not illegal, but he might give you shit.
Oh, yeah, I'll just tell him, I just wanted to eat my shorts.
and you can, but also another, and I always advocate for getting your ham radio license, and the reason for that is one, because you can't transmit right now on most frequencies,
right? And
some people are like, well, when it all hits the fan, it isn't going to matter anyways. You're right, but are you going to know how to use your radio?
Right.
And inevitably, something's going to go haywire with it. It's going to lose a frequency, or it's going to, have because radios just do this sometimes. They just have a bitch fit, and you got to reset them, and you got to do stuff. So if you don't know how to work that radio, then you're screwed.
It's not going to matter to walker, you idiot. Yeah, well, I know how to use mine. You know what I mean?
Exactly, and that's why you have your license. You get your license now, and then that way you can experiment and train and learn now. Because you are right, it won't matter after Teotawaki. I'm not going to be throwing my call sign, my FCC call sign out there during Teotawaki.
Right, you're just going to be talking as whatever you want to be talking,
Yeah,
just like now, if
rattlesnake, this is gray fox.
Right. And it's just going to be one of those things where it's like abrupt broadcasts that are from somewhere different every time,
Exactly.
It doesn't have to be every time, but enough difference, to where they're not just going to ping you and know exactly where you are.
This is Warspirit Discuss coming to you from a mountaintop somewhere out in the desert. Screw you, FCC. We are going to start our show real quick.
Right. Hold on. I'm going to throw something up real quick on the...
Your friendly neighborhood disc jockey.
That's kind of where I was kind of going with, yeah.
But I'm gonna keep talking anyway. What, Rock?
This is 3 Dog. Woo!
That's right. Woo!
Bringing you the truth, no matter how bad it hurts.
So, let's say, for example, you was wanting to talk to a group of people that you know, because that's actually one good thing. So a crap ton of people have these Baofeng radios now, and say you were trying to encourage resistance groups of cells in like the Farmington area if everything got really bad. Well, that would be a viable option to be able, if you could let groups of people know through flyers or whatever, hey, tune in to 137.500. That's actually out of the ham bands, but this is Teotawaki, remember, so it don't matter. At 8:30 tonight, and you'll hear a transmission from 3 Dog. And what you could do to mask your location is use that little Waxon handheld as a crossband repeater. So now you hide it way far away, and then you transmit really low power with a directional antenna. So that way your signal is only going towards that little crossband repeater, and then it transmits back out in a big splash, because it transmits everywhere, not just directionally, to all of your people. And so that would actually make it even harder to be pinpointed.
Whew. That's true.
Worst come to worst, they're going to find your radio and you won't have your radio anymore.
Right. Aww. you know? Rats. That's about as bad as it'll get. Also, this show, I've really been very technical. I'm actually proud of myself, like, you know, streaming the Windows. And right now, I've actually found some playlists that are royalty free. So, like, while we're talking, I have, like, turned way down, but kind of keeps a rhythm going to the show and stuff. You know, just a little bit of a head bopping thing. So it's kind of cool having a little bit of music in the back, and it sounded good. I ran an audio test, and I'm just kind of looking at all this and how far we've come. And I'm kind of got to say, I think COVID for the show was probably a good thing. Discord is just so much better than sharing the microphone. At least with the microphone that I had. And I mean, I would still like to do this system, like, you know, how Joe Rogan has it set up, where we sit around a table with a live camera and stuff, like,
sure,
microphones, and how they do it in, like, radio stations, you know. I'd really like a setup like that.
Right.
That'd be really cool to have, like, a building we're renting out or something and just hold our shows there.
One day, my friend, if the Lord tarries and we're not fighting a communist regime.
Right. Buy a boat and have a pirate radio on the lake.
Yeah.
They'd have to send
this is Three Dog.
Right.
Oh.
This is War Dog. Yeah.
Well, if they sent this, the only seal that they have on their side only has one eye, so I think we're pretty safe.
Right. His nocturnal vision ain't so good.
No, it's not so good anymore.
He ain't got no depth perception.
Only problem that you'd have with a boat is, you know, you're restricted. You've locked yourself in.
Well, yeah, if you're talking about Navajo Lake, I would recommend against.
Yeah, you're gonna have a helicopter.
Against that.
You're gonna have a helicopter swipe your shite real soon.
Now, if I was a rich man and I was wanting to, like, prepare for Teotihuacan, I might buy a submarine.
Ooh.
And hide it underneath the water in Navajo.
Dude! Oh, man, that's genius. I love it. We're broadcasting from our submarine in an indescript location.
In the darkness of night, you see this antenna come up out of the water.
Right.
Three Dog! Woo woo!
Man, that would be the dopest thing, to have some fuel for a submarine. Dude, It can't be that hard to get some kind of submarine system going. It couldn't be.
Submarines are quite expensive, my friend.
I know, but I mean, once you got the money and stuff going, then just park that little booger right in there and, you know, have a...
Well, I've already said it now, so now we can't do it.
Oh, I was all bummed out now. I was going to say that, but I was like, well, here, listen. Like, it's such an unrealistic goal, right? That...
Yeah,
you know what? It's not even possible. Don't even worry about it. It's fun to ponder.
Don't worry about it, government man. We don't have no... We're not broadcasting from our submarine down by the slips of Navajo Lake right now. At 237 feet underneath the water.
We all pop up, like, right? Like, we pop up from, like, the ocean, and there's just this aircraft carrier in Navajo Lake just waiting for us. How did you manage?
Spotlights. Freeze right there.
Uh-oh. Shoot. Just duck back under. Ah, dang it.
Bloop.
I wonder, how deep is Navajo Lake, man?
Man, the torpedoes. So, at the dam, which you want to be careful because you wouldn't want to get too deep because there's impellers that suck water into them.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't want to get sucked into the impellers. They're big. They're huge. They're big.
Dang.
It's a little over 300 feet right there.
What are they called? Impalers?
Impellers. They're fans. They're propellers.
Oh wow!
They
actually have that there. I figured they just do it like normal lakes do it with dams. Like they just have this massive hole at the bottom.
Well, it is a massive hole at the bottom, but as the water goes down the hole, it moves the impeller. That's what actually makes the hydroelectric, the electricity.
Smart.
So the water going through it, basically, all a hydroelectric dam electricity is, it's a water windmill.
Yeah, well, okay, I figured that. Okay, now I'm especially scared. It's just one of those things, right? Like they call them comedically, they call them glory holes. These holes that suck water through a dam. And I've always just kind of had like a fear of getting sucked into one. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, that's such a scary idea because it's just like.
Try going on your last dive certification and having to take a 90-foot dive at the dam in your dive gear.
Dude, did you actually have to do that?
Yeah.
No kidding. I remember watching a 2-hour video of like just dam work and how they were talking about this sort of thing. Like, you know, don't get sucked into this like, it wasn't Navajo, but it was some like lake in like Michigan, I think. But
and so 90 feet, you're nowhere near where the water's moving down. But it's still your mind. You look down and you know that there is this huge impeller below you that could you would be gone. No one would ever find you or know what happened to you. And I'm following down the anchor line with my dive instructor.
Oh.
And that's how we did it. You follow the anchor line all the way down until your gauge reads 90 feet. And then, of course, you make a what's called a delayed ascent because you descended. Now you got to do a delayed ascent because you got to let your body acclimatate to it so you don't get the bends. So you go down, you wait like 3 minutes at 90, then you go up about 30 feet, and you wait 3-5 minutes there, and then you keep doing that in small increments of 20 to 30 feet until you get back to the surface.
Whew. Man, I could tell you right now that I mean,
I'll tell you what, in Navajo Lake at 90 feet, it's freaking cold and you can't see shit. It is pitch black, dark.
Yeah, the sun no longer reaches. That's pretty deep, man. That's that's deep.
It is midnight, darkest night you've ever seen dark. And your dive light makes it to where you can just barely kind of see the rope. And your hand has a death grip on that anchor rope.
Yeah. I tell you that right now, man. That oh no. Eesh.
Good times.
On that same token, though, I would love to actually dive in Navajo Lake, just not near that. Please, not near that. Like, I'll dive.
That's where we're gonna take you first, John.
I'll take this finger right up your butt. I'll take you deeper than that freaking impeller takes you. I'll tell you that right now.
Well, no. John, don't promise me with a good time.
That is truly terrifying. We need to have like a local like things to do segment sometimes. I could see that. I've always wanted to go like look at actual crashed boat locations of like Navajo. Let's go down in there and check that out.
I've been to one, but by the time I got to it, it was mostly, I mean, you could just see the very, very, very top of like the boat sticking out because it had been buried in silt.
Oh yeah.
It was one of those old like you know, the inboard outboard ones, like the old like wooden boats, or the really heavy fiberglass. It was one of those boats, and I mean, it was kind of non-climatic.
Right. Still, I've always had like a thing with propellers, man. I remember like going to the shipyards and stuff when I was a kid, and just something about a propeller is just, imagine like you're trying.
Oh yeah, imagine being right there by the propeller while it was like going. You know, you was mentioning it the other day, watching them and stuff and everything. You know what actually scares the heck out of me is sea life in the ocean, like whales and sharks.
Oh,
and,
dude, you're out there in the ocean and you see like
even if a humpback whale isn't meaning you no harm and it's off at a distance,
it's a massive object you have no control over.
I would be scared shitless. I would be going back to the boat.
Yeah, dude.
I don't care if it was going the opposite direction from me or it was just chilling. I would be going the opposite direction of it.
I don't want to be in the Nineveh Express, bro.
And if it was in between me and the boat, well, I might be swimming back to shore.
Yeah. I'm just saying, man, that stuff's freaky, bro. Ocean life is definitely a spoops.
I have never dove the ocean, and I'm kind of terrified to do so.
I don't know, like the ocean is a whole new beast of stuff.
Although if it was clear water, I probably would like it better, and plus you don't have. It's actually kind of funny. You actually don't have as big as sharks or as crazy as shit in clear water as you do in like murky water.
Yeah, I was about to say it's generally like, I don't know, because I've done scuba, in the ocean. I haven't done deep sea diving, but even scuba is kind of freaky. Like I remember, kind of a funny story.
Snorkel or scuba?
Snorkeling. I've snorkeled.
So scuba actually stands for self-contained breathing apparatus.
Right. I was talking about I've been snorkeling. I ain't been scuba
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that'd be cool. I've never, like I said, I never dove open water. Now, in dive certifications, that means a closed water means it's a lake.
Right.
Open water is the ocean. I've never dove open water.
Yeah. And so, like an ocean, right? Like, as a kid, it was a common thing for me. Like, I was very used to it, of putting on my snorkel gear, and all my folks were on vacation, when we were fairly wealthy, and, I'd be snorkeling around a coral reef, and the life is just astounding. Like, all these fishes and all these lobsters and everything is just there. You're just, there was even one time, like, I wasn't too spooked about the shark. There was a nurse shark, and it was just chilling at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And at first I was like, like come up. I was like, yo, there's a shark. And like the dude at the catamaran was like, don't worry about it, bro. It's a nurse shark. And I was like, what's the difference? And he's like, it's just a nurse shark. I was honestly more scared of the propellers on the boat. That was always something that jacked me up. Even if they're little things, they just scared me. But, I gotta say, man, it is something that I would like to do again. Especially as an adult where I can appreciate it more. Because there's like I remember, that's probably one of my favorite trips. We were just off this like rocky thing, and there was this reef, and I put on my snorkel gear, and I how do I put this? Like there was a sea slugs and like urchins and all this other stuff. So we actually, the catamaran was like, go grab sea slugs for us, or sea cucumbers. So like, we went down there, and I was grabbing sea cucumbers and bringing them up to the boat and putting them in a bucket. And we got up there, and the dude looked at me with the sea cucumber, and he squeezed it, and it squirted water all over me.
Right?
And he was Hawaiian, like full-blooded Hawaiian native. And he was like, it's Hawaiian squirt gun. And so
that's
it was
funny.
kind of funny. He had everyone on the boat with like sea cucumbers spraying each other. You just squeeze them, and then in order to recharge them, you just put them back in there. And I'm like, God had put these on Earth for children. That's the only reason I could think of a sea cucumber existing, is literally to entertain kids. And that's that. What a charming discussion outside of everything we've had these last few weeks. Oh, that was nice. We're about 10-15.
Very nice.
Let's say, it sounds like you've had some pretty, I wouldn't have done that, with the whole Navajo Lake, like you diving. Do you say you dived towards the impeller stuff?
Well, yeah, I mean, they're underneath you at the dam. I don't know exactly where
that's so awful.
They are, but
that's even worse. It's like, imagine you're going down this line and you feel that metallic fan touch your leg. Oh no.
Well, like I said, it's 300 and something feet down, and you're only going 90. So you're going a third of the way, right. Down. So you're still pretty safe. You just got to put that out of your mind.
Yeah. But it's like,
you don't.
Those things would suck. How much pressure is down on top of them.
Well, that's the interesting thing is I was neutrally buoyant with my BC. That's BCU. It's buoyancy control unit. Basically, it's a life jacket that you can let air in and let air out, and you can make yourself more or less buoyant.
Right.
And in scuba, what you want to do is make yourself neutrally buoyant. You're not going up, you're not going down, you're just neutral. So it's like you're setting in space.
Right.
And you're just floating there.
Yeah, you can choose.
Now, if I kick one way, I'll go that direction. Now, you can get disoriented, and this is very important to understand and know, underwater, and get turned upside down and think up is down, down is up.
Because it's pitch black.
Yeah, and so what you got to do, and that's why it's always very, very, and even if your light goes out, you can still do this, but so always watch your bubbles, because your bubbles will always go up.
Right.
So you might be upside down, and all of a sudden your bubbles go the opposite direction you think they're supposed to go, and you're like, what the heck? But trust your bubbles.
Right.
They went what you thought was down.
Right.
So that's actually up.
That's useful.
So, yeah. And if your light goes out, you can still figure out which way your bubbles go by putting your hands in front of your face and guessing. Like, okay, well, I think this is up. So you cup your hands up kind of above your face and then let your bubbles out. If you don't feel bubbles, you be wrong. So then try it the other way. Put your hands below your face.
It is such a travesty. Like, we can figure this out, right? We need to explore our oceans more, man. Like, truly. Like, I'm kind of glad that frontier is still open. Truly. Because I like the ocean. I really do. I can't say that I'm afraid of deep water, but the concept is definitely terrifying. Like, the shore is one thing, right? Like when you're out on a beach. But like, I always get paranoid once you get far enough out and you can't feel the sand anymore. That it just sends a chill up my spine. It really does. But
it is truly terrifying to me. And I'm not saying I wouldn't do it, but to get out in the open ocean, where if you jump out and you're in the water, and then you have the realization that water, the bottom, is 3 miles down in some places. That's scary.
Yeah, it is.
To think that a Seawolf class freaking submarine could be going underneath you while you're bobbing in the ocean.
Right, or a shark or something.
Yeah, a great white. A great white could be right underneath you.
Right there, and you'd have to be none the wiser. A freaking whale, depending on who, Imagine that, just getting swallowed by accident by some whale or something. You know, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh, well, they won't intentionally do that. It's like, well, they're big enough to make a mistake. I'll tell you that right now.
They wouldn't even know you were there. You know, they open their mouth, get plankton, and then the next minute you're inside the whale.
Right, getting all those weird bristles against you, and it's just terrible.
And don't you argue with me because Jonah had it happen to him.
Right. That's why I said the Nineveh Express. I don't really want to take that.
No. Ugh.
Anyways, Warspirit, do you want to lead us out in prayer, my friend?
Sure. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day, Father God, and we thank you for everything you've done for us, Lord. And Lord, I thank you for my friend John, and thank you, Lord, for this podcast. Lord, we thank you for our fans and our listeners. And we pray, Lord, that you would grow this company, Lord, this group, this news organization, Father God. Not for our glory, Lord, but for yours and for the information that we can get out to the people. Lord, thank you for giving us a time of more of a relaxed show. Lord, we truly both needed this, Lord. And I truly think that the others out there need it also, Lord. Lord, there's so much going on in everybody's lives and the stress of that COVID has brought and all this other stuff, Lord. Not just the disease, but just the lifestyle changes and stuff that we've had to get used to that we shouldn't have to get used to, Lord. Father, I just pray that you do a work in all that stuff. Lord, I pray for President Donald Trump right now, that you would help him to make wise, godly decisions. And lastly, Lord, I just pray, Lord, that you would just continue to bless our show. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much for joining me as always, Warspirit. Thank you, everyone who's joined in to listen to us. Please share our show. Please share our page. We are able to be found at facebook.com/ITTDM. And we are also able to be found on this channel here. We are currently in the process. This has been a goal from the get-go to get at least 100 subscribers on the YouTube channel. That would allow us to be able to change our URL and we can start linking people our channel more efficiently. So,
right.
If you know people who might want to listen into our show, we've obviously gotten a lot better. Don't have to start them off at the beginning, just start them off at what's relevant. Thank you very much, everyone who's listened. Thank you for supporting our show. Go forth and spread the good news.